Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, watching the stars pass by through the viewport. He was 46 years old, with gray hair at his temples and tired eyes that had seen too many disappointments. His ship was making its way to the Galactic Council Station, where another meeting would take place. Another meeting where humanity would be ignored, insulted, or dismissed. It had been 37 years since humans first met aliens. The Valorian Empire had arrived in Earth's orbit with ships that gleamed like silver, and humanity had been amazed. Finally, they were not alone in the universe. Finally, they could join the great community of intelligent species that spanned the galaxy. The Galactic Council welcomed Earth, but not as equals. Humanity was given the lowest membership tier, below even species that had just learned to build faster-than-light engines. The Council made rules for Earth that didn't apply to others. Humans could only settle certain worlds. They could only trade specific goods. They couldn't build military ships. They couldn't carry weapons in Council space. Earth's leaders had accepted these terms. They believed that patience and peace would earn respect over time, show the galaxy that humans were good neighbors, kind friends, and honest traders. Eventually, the Council would see humanity's worth and treat them fairly. Hyun-woo had believed this too once. Now he wasn't so sure. "Captain, we're receiving the agenda for tomorrow's session," said Dr. Nari Choi, his second in command. She was a brilliant scientist, specialized in studying alien biology. Nari was in her late 30s, with sharp eyes that noticed everything. She read from her datapad and sighed. "We're scheduled to speak last again. After all 847 other species." "Of course we are," Hyun-woo replied. He had expected nothing else. Lieutenant Jin-woo Han, the young tactical officer, slammed his hand on his console. "This is ridiculous. We've followed every rule they made. We've been nothing but peaceful. And they still treat us like dirt." "Lieutenant, control yourself," Hyun-woo said quietly, but he understood the young man's frustration. Jin-woo was 28, born after first contact. He had grown up being told that humanity was part of a great galactic civilization. The reality had been disappointing. The Harmony's Edge docked at the Council Station 12 hours later. The station was massive, a ring of metal and lights that could hold millions of beings. Ships from hundreds of worlds came and went constantly. Hyun-woo's vessel looked small and plain next to the grand cruisers of the Drexian hegemony, or the elegant yachts of the Therian collective ambassador. Taiyang Park met them at the docking bay. He was 70 years old, having spent most of his adult life representing Earth to the Council. His face showed every year of that service. Deep lines creased his forehead and around his mouth. His hair was completely white, but his back was straight and his voice was steady. "Captain, Doctor, Lieutenant," he greeted them. "Thank you for coming. I expect tomorrow's session will be ... challenging." "They're always challenging, Ambassador," Nari said. "Will we actually get to speak this time?" "If we're lucky, we'll have 5 minutes before they call an end to the session," Taiyang replied. "The Drexian representative has already filed a complaint about our agricultural exports. He claims we're undercutting their prices." Jin-woo laughed bitterly. "We grow food better than they do, so now that's a crime?" "To them, yes," the ambassador said. "Lord Vacross considers it an insult that anyone would buy human wheat instead of Drexian grain." The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in tiers that rose up like a vast amphitheater. Each species had their designated area, marked with their symbols and flags. The most powerful species sat at the bottom, closest to the central platform. Earth's seats were at the very top, in the back row, next to species that nobody had ever heard of. Hyun-woo, Nari, Jin-woo, and Ambassador Taiyang climbed the long stairs to their seats. It took almost 10 minutes to reach the top. By design, Hyun-woo thought. Make the small species work just to attend. The session began with speeches from the major powers. The Valorian Empire discussed trade routes. The Drexian hegemony proposed new territorial boundaries. The Therian Collective presented research findings. Hours passed. Hundreds of species spoke about their concerns, their achievements, their proposals. Finally, near the end of the day, Earth was called to speak. Ambassador Tai Yang descended the stairs slowly, his old knees protesting. He reached the central platform and began his prepared statement about establishing a human medical station on the border worlds to help refugees. Lord Vakros of the Drexian hegemony interrupted him. Why should we allow humans to spread further into civilized space? You people are farmers, nothing more. You grow food and make primitive entertainment. You have contributed nothing of value to this council. Tai Yang kept his composure. The Drexian representative is entitled to his opinion, but humanity has facts, not opinions. Vakros continued, his voice booming across the chamber. Several species laughed. Your technology is basic. Your culture is simple. Your military doesn't exist because you're too weak to maintain one. Honestly, I'm not sure why we allow you in this chamber at all. More laughter. Hyunwoo clenched his fists. Beside him, Jinwoo stood up, ready to shout something, but Nari pulled him back down. Ambassador Tai Yang bowed slightly. The Drexian representative has made his position clear. Nevertheless, humanity requests permission to establish the medical station. We believe helping refugees is the right thing to do. The vote was called. Out of 847 species, only 32 voted yes. Earth's proposal was rejected. Tai Yang climbed back up the stairs. When he reached their seats, he sat down heavily. Another day in paradise, he said softly. That evening, Hyunwoo couldn't sleep. He walked through the corridors of the Harmony's Edge, thinking about what he had witnessed. 37 years of this. His entire career had been spent swallowing insults and accepting defeat. Was this really what humanity's future looked like? Forever being the galaxy's joke? He found Nari in the ship's small laboratory, reviewing data on her screens. Can't sleep either? She asked. Too much on my mind, Hyunwoo admitted. He sat down across from her. What are you working on? Something strange, Nari said. She pulled up a document on her screen. I was doing routine research in Earth's historical databases, and I found references to military installations that were sealed before first contact. Facilities on the Moon, Mars, even some in the asteroid belt. The records are heavily encrypted, but they mention defense networks, weapon systems, entire fleets of ships. Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. You should look into that. Why not? If we have these things, why don't we use them? Why do we let the council treat us this way? Because some doors are meant to stay closed, Hyunwoo said. His voice was gentle but firm. Trust me, Doctor. Leave it alone. Nari studied his face. You know something. I know that our leaders made choices for good reasons, Hyunwoo replied. And I know that those choices have kept humanity safe, even if they've also kept us small. But for how long? Nari asked. How long do we stay small? How long do we keep taking their abuse? Hyunwoo stood up to leave. At the door, he paused. Until they give us no other choice. He walked away, leaving Nari with her questions and her encrypted files. Deep inside, Hyunwoo hoped that day would never come. But another part of him, a part that remembered different times, knew that it probably would, somewhere in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain on Earth, in rooms that hadn't been opened in decades. Lights blinked on standby mode, waiting, always waiting. The emergency signal came 3 days after the council meeting. Hyunwoo was in his quarters when the alarm sounded throughout the Harmony's Edge. He rushed to the bridge. where Nari and Jinwoo were already at their stations. What's happening? Hyunwoo demanded. It's Haven's Rest, Jinwoo said, his voice tight. The colony is sending out a distress call. There's an asteroid on collision course with the planet. Impact in 48 hours. Haven's Rest was a human colony world, home to 2,300,000 people. It was a beautiful planet with green forests and blue oceans, where families had built homes and lives. Hyunwoo had visited it once, years ago. He remembered children playing in parks and farmers working in fields. What about their defense grid? Nari asked. That's the problem, Jinwoo replied, bringing up data on the main screen. The Council regulations don't allow them to have a full defense system. They only have basic deflection equipment, and it's not enough to handle an asteroid this size. Hyunwoo felt cold. The Council's rules had always seemed annoying before, but now they were deadly. Set course for Haven's Rest immediately. Maximum speed. Captain, there's another problem, Jinwoo said. The fastest route goes through Drexian-controlled space. Their trade corridor cuts 12 hours off our travel time. Then we'll use that route, Hyunwoo said. We'll need permission, Nari reminded him. The Drexians don't let anyone pass through their territory without approval. Send the request now. Explain it's an emergency. The reply came back in less than an hour. Permission denied. Lord Vakros himself had sent the message, stating that Earth vessels were not authorized to use Drexian space routes under any circumstances. If humanity wanted access, they should file the proper paperwork and wait for review. How long does the review process take? Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. 6 days, Nari said quietly. Standard procedure? 6 days. The asteroid would hit in 2. Ambassador Taiyang called an emergency session of the Council. Hyunwoo watched the broadcast from his ship as the ambassador stood before the assembly and pleaded for help. 2,300,000 human beings are going to die if we don't act now, Taiyang said, his voice breaking with emotion. All we need is passage through Drexian space. Just this once, please. Lord Vakros stood up in his seat. He was tall, with blue-gray skin and forearms. His face showed no sympathy at all. Ambassador, your emergency does not override our territorial sovereignty. You know the rules. File the proper paperwork. By the time the paperwork is processed, everyone on that planet will be dead. Taiyang shouted. The ambassador never shouted, but he was shouting now. Then perhaps your species should have built proper defenses instead of relying on others to save you, Vakros replied. Perhaps this is nature's way of teaching humanity its place in the galaxy. The weak must learn or perish. The council chamber fell silent. Even species that disliked humans looked uncomfortable. This was too cruel, too cold. But no one spoke up. No one voted against the Drexian position. The session ended. Permission denied. Hyunwoo sat in his captain's chair, staring at the countdown timer on his screen. 41 hours until impact. Even at maximum speed, going the long way around would take 63 hours. They couldn't make it in time. Messages from Haven's Rest filled the communication channels. Parents sending goodbye messages to relatives on Earth. Children recording videos for grandparents they would never see again. Scientists, teachers, artists, farmers, all of them facing death because of a rule. Because someone decided that humans didn't deserve the same rights as other species. This isn't right, Jinwoo said. His hands shook with rage. We should force our way through. Ram through their blockade if we have to. With what weapons? Nari asked sadly. This ship is unarmed. Council regulations, remember? We'd be destroyed before we got halfway through their territory. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. There had to be something they could do. Some way to save those people. But what? They had followed every rule, And those rules were now killing millions of humans. His console beeped. An encrypted message, priority level alpha. Hin-Woo had never received an alpha priority message before in his entire career. The encryption was military grade, something that wasn't supposed to exist in humanity's peaceful fleet. He opened the message. It was text only, no video, no audio, just words on a screen. Captain Kim, this is Protocol Director Sora Yoon, Earth Defense Command. We have been monitoring the situation at Haven's Rest. Authorization codes are now active. Question: do we have your permission to proceed? Earth Defense Command. Hin-Woo had heard rumors about this organization, whispers in dark corners. An agency that supposedly didn't exist, managing assets the humanity supposedly didn't have. He had never believed the rumors before. Below the message was a response field and a code entry system. Hin-Woo's hand moved to his personal datapad. When he had been commissioned as a captain 20 years ago, he had been given a code. The officer who gave it to him said, "You'll probably never need this. Pray that you never do. But if someone asks for this code, it means everything is changed." Hin-Woo had memorized the code and never spoken of it again. Until now, he looked at Nari and Jinwoo. "Leave the bridge, Captain?" Nari asked. "That's an order. Leave now. Both of you." They left, confused and worried. When the door closed behind them, Hyun-Woo was alone. He looked at the countdown timer again. 40 hours and 17 minutes. He thought about the children on Haven's Rest, the families, the people who had trusted that humanity would protect them. The Council had failed them. The rules had failed them. Patience and peace had failed them. Hin-Woo typed his response. Authorization granted. Wake them up. He sent the message and waited. For a long minute, nothing happened. Then his console lit up with confirmations from Earth, from the Moon, from Mars, from locations he didn't even recognize. Facility after facility reporting status changes. Systems coming online. Ships powering up. His screen changed, showing a woman's face. She was in her 50s, with black hair pulled back tight and eyes that looked like they carried heavy burdens. "Captain Kim, this is Director Sora Yoon. Thank you for your authorization. We are now activating Protocol Omega. Earth Defense Fleet is launching in 3 hours. We will reach Haven's Rest in time. How many ships?" Hyun-Woo asked. 50 for this operation. More if needed. Where did they come from? They've always been there, Captain. Hidden, waiting, hoping we'd never need them. Today, we need them. What do I tell my crew? Tell them the truth. Tell them that Earth has been quiet because we chose to be, not because we had to be. Tell them that we tried peace first, but when peace failed, we remembered who we are. The connection ended. Hyun-Woo sat alone in the darkness of the bridge, processing what had just happened. 50 warships. Hidden for decades. Humanity had lied to the galaxy, presenting themselves as weak and harmless, while maintaining a fleet that nobody knew about. He called Nari and Jinwoo back to the bridge. When they entered, he could see the questions on their faces. "Contact Haven's Rest," Hyun-Woo said. "Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold on." "Captain, we can't reach them in time," Jinwoo protested. "We can't," Hyun-Woo agreed. "But someone else can." On Earth, deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Director Sora Yoon walked through corridors that had been sealed since first contact with the Valorians. Blast doors opened, each one revealing more of the hidden facility. Personnel moved with practiced efficiency, preparing systems that had been maintained but never used in orbital yards around Mars and in the asteroid belt. Ships detached from camouflaged moorings. They were sleek and deadly, built with technology that the Council claimed humanity didn't possess. Crews that had trained in secret for their entire careers finally moved to battle stations. Throughout the solar system, a message went out on encrypted channels. Protocol Omega is active. All units proceed to Haven's Rest. Rules of engagement. Anyone who tries to stop us will learn what humans are truly capable of. The Earth Defense Fleet, hidden for 37 years, was about to introduce itself to the galaxy. The Drexian border station detected them first. 50 vessels approaching at speeds that shouldn't be possible. The station commander, a veteran named Corvus, stared at his sensors in disbelief. The ships were human in design, but nothing like the slow cargo vessels and unarmed exploration ships he was used to seeing. These were warships. Real warships. Identify the approaching fleet, Corvus ordered his communications officer. The response came back immediately. Broadcast on all frequencies so everyone could hear. This is Fleet Admiral Dayan, Quan of the Earth Defense Ship Soul's Fury. We are proceeding to Haven's Rest on an emergency rescue mission. Clear the path. Corvus had never heard of an Earth defense ship. He checked the Council registry. No such vessels existed. Humans weren't allowed to have military ships. This had to be some kind of trick or mistake. Unknown vessels, you are entering Drexian space without authorization. Corvus transmitted. Turn back immediately, or you will be fired upon. We gave you a choice, Admiral Dayan replied. You can move, or you can be moved. Decide now. Corvus felt anger rise in his chest. How dare these humans threaten him? They were the weakest species in the Council. They had no military. They had no power. He activated the Border Defense Fleet 47 warships, heavily armed and crewed by experienced Drexian warriors. All vessels weapons free, Corvus ordered. Show these humans what happens when they challenge the Drexian hegemony. The Drexian fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human ships. Corvus watched his targeting screens, expecting to see the Earth vessels torn apart. Instead, something incredible happened. The human ships activated shields that seemed to absorb the energy weapons completely. The missiles exploded against barriers that appeared and disappeared in microseconds, each barrier perfectly positioned to intercept the incoming fire. Then the humans fired back. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for years to come. The humans called it precision warfare. Others called it the 3-minute war. The Soul's Fury and its sister ships used weapons that most species thought were only theoretical. Railguns accelerated projectiles to incredible speeds, punching through Drexian shields like they weren't there. Each shot was perfectly aimed, not at crew sections or power cores, but at weapon systems and engines. The human fleet wasn't trying to kill. They were trying to disable. Corvus watched in horror as his ships were systematically taken apart. One by one, Drexian vessels lost power, lost weapons, lost the ability to maneuver. Not a single ship exploded. Not a single crew died. But in 3 minutes and 17 seconds, the entire border defense fleet was rendered completely helpless. The human ships moved past them without slowing down, heading straight for Haven's Rest. All stations, this is Corvus, he transmitted weakly. Alert Lord Vakros. Tell him we were wrong about the humans. On the bridge of the Soul's Fury, Admiral Dayun Quan watched the disabled Drexian ships fall behind. He was 62 years old, with white hair and calm eyes. He had been preparing for this day since he joined the defense fleet 40 years ago. Part of him had hoped it would never come, but another part of him had known it was inevitable. All ships, maintain formation, he ordered. Time to Haven's Rest? 9 hours, sir, his navigation officer reported. Good. We'll make it with 3 hours to spare. Dayun opened a channel to Director Sora Yoon back on Earth. Director, border fleet has been neutralized. Proceeding to target. Sora's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but determined. Understood, Admiral. Be aware that the entire galaxy is watching. Every sensor, every telescope, every monitoring station has locked onto your fleet. The secret is out. Good, Dayan said simply. Let them watch. Let them see what happens when they threaten human lives. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. Human warships had appeared from nowhere and destroyed a Drexian border fleet in 3 minutes. Impossible. Humans didn't have warships. Humans didn't have that technology. Humans were farmers and entertainers, weak and harmless. Except they weren't. They never had been. The Council called another emergency session. Every species sent representatives, all of them demanding answers. Ambassador Taiyang walked into the chamber, and this time the room fell silent. No one laughed. No one made jokes. They looked at him with fear, confusion, and anger. Lord Vakros stood in his seat. His blue-gray skin had gone pale. Explain yourself, Ambassador. Where did those ships come from? You violated Council law by maintaining a military force. Taiyang smiled. It was not a kind smile. Did we, Lord Vakros? Show me the law that says we can't have a military. I'll wait. Vakros sputtered. It was understood. The agreement when you joined the Council. The agreement said we couldn't bring weapons into Council space. Taiyang interrupted. We didn't. We kept them in our own space, in our own systems, under our own control. We followed the letter of every law you imposed on us. You deceived us. No, Taiyang said, his voice growing harder. We protected ourselves. When we first encountered the Valorian Empire 37 years ago, we had a choice. We could come in with weapons showing, proving we were a threat. Or we could come in peace, hoping you would welcome us as friends. We chose peace. We chose to hide our true strength because we wanted to give you a chance to treat us fairly. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Hundreds of species shouting at once. Taiyang raised his hand, and somehow the room quieted. For 37 years, we have followed your rules. We accepted the insults. We took the unfair trade deals. We settled the worst planets. We did all of this because we believed that eventually you would see us as equals. But you didn't. You saw us as weak, as inferior, as expendable. Taiyang's eyes found Lord Vakros. And when 2 million of our people faced death, you laughed. You said it was nature's way. You condemned innocents to die because of your pride and your hatred. That was within my rights, as Vakros started. Your rights ended when you decided human lives were worthless. Taiyang shouted. The ambassador's voice echoed through the chamber. You crossed a line. You forced us to choose between staying quiet and saving our people. We chose our people. We will always choose our people. On the main screen, a video feed appeared. It showed Director Sora Yoon standing in what was clearly a military command center. Behind her, personnel worked at stations monitoring dozens of ships. Members of the Galactic Council, Sora began. My name is Sora Yoon, Director of Earth Defense Command. This organization has existed since before first contact with the Valorian Empire. We maintained it in secret because we hoped we would never need it. We were wrong. She walked forward, and the camera followed. Humanity possesses 17 full battle fleets, 32 worlds with complete defense networks, technology that is decades ahead of what the Council believes is possible. We have weapons you've never seen and shields you can't break. We have kept this secret for nearly 4 decades, hoping that peace would prevail. But you have shown us that peace is only possible when backed by strength. You respect power, not kindness. You respect fear, not friendship. So today, we show you what we are truly capable of. The screen changed. showing the human fleet arriving at Haven's Rest. 6 massive vessels positioned themselves between the planet and the approaching asteroid. They activated systems that created a visible distortion in space, a gravity well that bent light around it. The asteroid, a mountain of rock 3 kilometers wide, shifted course. The gravity well pulled it to one side, changing its trajectory by 40 degrees. It missed Haven's Rest by a comfortable margin, passing harmlessly into deep space on the planet's surface. 2,300,000 people watched from their homes, their streets, their fields. They saw the ships that had saved them. They saw the power that humanity had kept hidden. And they understood that everything had changed. In the council chamber, Sora Yoon's face reappeared. Humanity is issuing new terms. We will no longer accept the restrictions you have placed on us. We will settle where we choose. We will trade what we choose. We will build what we choose. Any species that wishes to maintain peaceful relations with us will find we are generous partners. But any species that threatens human lives will face consequences. She leaned forward, her eyes hard as steel. We stayed quiet because we hoped you would give us a reason to stay that way. You failed. Remember that. Remember that when you underestimated us. Remember that when you called us weak. Remember that when you decided our people were expendable. The transmission ended. The council chamber sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Taiyang looked around at the faces of the species that had mocked humanity for decades. The days of pushing Earth around are over, he said quietly. You can accept us as equals, or you can challenge us as enemies. Choose wisely. He turned and walked out of the chamber, his head high and his back straight. Behind him, the council erupted into chaos. The galaxy fractured in the days following Haven's Rest. The Galactic Council, which had maintained order for thousands of years, split into 3 distinct groups. Each group had different ideas about how to handle the human problem. Lord Vakros led the first group, which they called the Coalition for Galactic Order. 6 major species joined him, along with dozens of minor ones. They refused to accept Earth's ultimatum. To them, humanity's deception was unforgivable. If humans were allowed to break the rules and face no consequences, then the entire council system would collapse. We must show strength, Vakros declared at a coalition meeting. We must teach these upstart humans that the council does not bow to threats. They may have surprised us once, but we outnumber them 1,000 to 1. Together, we will crush their little fleet and remind them of their place. The coalition began assembling a war fleet. 300 ships from different species, all converging on a staging area near the border between council space and human territory. It was the largest military force gathered in 2 centuries. The second group called themselves the New Alliance. The Therian Collective led this faction, along with species that had grown tired of the old power structures. They saw opportunity in humanity's challenge. If the old rules could be broken, maybe the galaxy could be made more fair. The Therian representative, a being named Kelvara, opened secret negotiations with Ambassador Taiyang. We have watched the strong dominate the weak for too long, she told him. Your species has shown that it's possible to change the balance. We want to join you in creating a better system. The third group had no name and no leader. They were the small species, the ones who had been pushed around and ignored by the council for generations. They watched humanity stand with hope in their hearts. If Earth could challenge the giants, maybe they could too. What nobody in the council knew was that Earth had been helping these small species for years. Dr. Nari Choi revealed this in a report that shocked even the human diplomatic corps. 23 minor species had been quietly receiving technology from Earth, better shields, better communication systems, better medical equipment, all of it disguised as cultural exchange programs. We knew the council would never allow these species to advance, Nari explained to a gathering of Earth's leadership. The powerful want to keep the weak down. So we helped them in secret, the same way we built our fleet in secret. Now they're strong enough to stand with us. Those 23 species announced their support for Earth's position. They formed a bloc that completely changed the voting dynamics in the Council. Suddenly, humanity wasn't alone. They had allies, and those allies had votes. But Lord Vakros wasn't interested in votes anymore. He wanted war. His coalition fleet finished assembling 300 warships, crews numbering in the millions, weapons enough to level planets. He gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. Humanity has shown contempt for the order that has kept peace among the stars. They have built weapons in secret. They have deceived us all. They have threatened our sovereignty. This cannot stand. The coalition will proceed to the Sol system and show these humans the price of their arrogance. We will bombard Earth itself if necessary. The galaxy must know that the Council is not weak. The coalition fleet began moving toward Earth. They expected to fight the 50 ships that had appeared at Haven's Rest, maybe a few more if humans had kept some in reserve. Even if Earth had 100 ships, the coalition had 300. The math seemed simple. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of his new command, the ED Snu Hanseong. It was a dreadnought-class warship, one of the most powerful vessels in the Earth Defense Fleet. After the Haven's Rest incident, Hyunwoo had been given a choice return to diplomatic duties or join the military operation. He had chosen to fight. Jinwoo Han was with him, now wearing the rank of commander. The young man had gotten his wish Earth, was finally showing its strength. But as they prepared for battle, Jinwoo looked nervous. "Captain, the enemy fleet outnumbers us badly. Are we going to be okay?" Hyunwoo smiled. "Commander, you still don't understand the full picture. You've seen 50 of our ships. You think that's our entire fleet? Isn't it? Not even close." The coalition fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to find Earth defended by a handful of vessels. Instead, they found a fortress. Defense satellites filled the space around Earth's solar system, thousands of them, each armed with weapons and linked to a central targeting computer. 3 full Earth battle fleets patrolled the outer planets, not 50 ships, but over 300. Mars, which the Council thought was a simple farming colony, was revealed to be a massive military shipyard with dozens of vessels under construction. Lord Vakros stared at the tactical display aboard his flagship. "This is impossible. Where did all of this come from?" His tactical officer had no answer. "Sir, our intelligence was completely wrong. The humans didn't just hide a few ships. They hid an entire military-industrial complex." "Then we'll destroy it all," Vakros said. "All ships, attack formation. We still have the numbers." The Battle of Neptune's Gate began at 1400 hours, Earth Standard Time. The coalition fleet pushed forward, attempting to break through Earth's outer defense line. The human ships met them with the same precision they had shown at the Drexian border, but this time the fight lasted much longer. The coalition had learned from the Drexians' mistakes. They spread out, used different attack patterns, tried to overwhelm the human defenses with sheer numbers. For 7 hours, space filled with weapons fire and explosions. Ships on both sides took damage, but slowly, inevitably, the coalition began to lose. Earth's technology was simply too advanced. Their shields regenerated faster. Their weapons hit harder. Their ships moved quicker. And most importantly, their coordination was perfect, every vessel working together. Like parts of a single organism, Hyun-woo commanded the new Hanseong with calm efficiency. Chin-woo, handling tactical operations, called out targets and coordinated with the rest of the fleet. They disabled enemy ships one by one, always aiming for weapons and engines. never for life support or crew quarters. Captain, the enemy flagship is attempting to retreat, Jinwoo reported. Let them go, Hyunwoo said. We're not here to conquer. We are here to defend. By the time the battle ended, the coalition had lost 70% of its ships, over 200 vessels disabled or destroyed. Earth's casualties: 0 ships completely destroyed, minimal damage to most vessels, repairs already underway. Lord Vecross's flagship limped away from the battle zone, its engines barely functioning. He sat in his command chair, staring at the ruins of his fleet. All his pride, all his certainty, all his contempt for humanity, it had led to this disaster. Admiral Dayan Kwan broadcast a message that reached every ship in the system, every station in the galaxy. This is Fleet Admiral Dayan Kwan of the Earth Defense Fleet. To all species watching, Earth did not want this fight. We hoped that showing our strength would be enough to earn respect. But you forced our hand. You attacked our home. You tried to destroy us. He paused, letting his words sink in. Earth possesses 17 full battle fleets, 32 fortress worlds, weapons and defenses that are decades ahead of anything the Council has. We could have revealed this on day 1, 37 years ago. We could have demanded obedience and respect through fear. But that's not who we are. We chose peace. We chose patience. We chose to give you every chance to accept us as friends. You chose war instead. You chose to see kindness as weakness. You were wrong. The screen split, showing director Sora Yoon alongside the Admiral. Humanity is offering one final choice, she said. Any species that ceases hostility immediately will find Earth's hand extended in partnership. We will share technology. We will open trade. We will work together to build something better than the Council that has failed so many. But any species that continues aggression will face the same fate as the Coalition fleet. We don't want an empire, Admiral Dayan continued. We don't want to rule over you. We want a fair seat at the table. We want our voices heard. We want our people treated with respect. Is that too much to ask? In council chambers across the galaxy, representatives watched the broadcast. They saw the disabled coalition ships. They saw Earth's untouched fleets. They saw the truth humanity had been holding back from the very beginning. If they had wanted to conquer, they could have done it decades ago. The vote was called 3 days later. The question: should the Council accept Earth's terms for a new charter with equal rights for all species? 673 species voted yes. 174 voted no. The reform had passed. Lord Vacross, his fleet destroyed, and his people demanding his resignation, had no choice but to accept. He appeared before the Council one last time, looking old and defeated. The Drexian hegemony accepts the ceasefire, he said quietly. We acknowledged that we were wrong about humanity. We acknowledged that the old ways must change. Ambassador Taiyang watched him with no joy, no triumph, just sadness. This didn't have to happen, he said. All we ever wanted was respect. You could have given it freely. Instead, we had to take it. The Battle of Neptune's Gate ended the war before it truly began. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. The quiet ones are often the most dangerous. And patience is not the same as weakness. 3 months after the Battle of Neptune's Gate, the Galactic Council convened for the first time under new rules. The old chamber was too small for what was about to happen, so they met in a massive arena on a neutral world. Every species sent representatives. Everyone wanted to see what would come next. The seating arrangement had changed. No more tiers with the powerful at the bottom and the weak at the top. Now all seats were at the same level, arranged in a circle where everyone could see everyone else. Earth's delegation sat in a section marked with humanity's symbol, a blue and green planet with a single moon, Ambassador Taiyang was there, looking healthier than he had in years. The stress of pretending to be weak had taken its toll on him, but now he could stand straight and speak freely. Beside him sat Director Sora Yoon, Admiral Daeyoung Kwan, and representatives from the 23 minor species that had allied with Earth. The Therian representative, Kulvara, called the session to order. She had been elected as the Council's new moderator, chosen because her species had tried to bridge the divide between old and new. "We gather today to vote on the new charter," Kulvara announced. "This charter will replace the old hierarchy with equal representation for all species. It will open technology sharing agreements so that no species is forced to remain primitive. It will dissolve territorial monopolies so that all can settle and trade freely. It will create a true council, not a dictatorship of the strong." The debate lasted for hours. Some species resisted, clinging to the power they had enjoyed for centuries. Lord Vacross, no longer the arrogant leader, but a humbled representative, spoke against the charter. "This charter gives too much power to species that have not earned it," he argued. "The strong have maintained order in this galaxy for thousands of years. If we give equal voice to everyone, chaos will result." Ambassador Taiyang stood to respond. "Lord Vacross speaks of order, but whose order? The order that let 2 million of my people face death because of pride? The order that kept entire species locked in poverty because they couldn't compete with monopolies? That's not order. That's oppression dressed in fancy words." He looked around the chamber at all the different faces, all the different species. Real order comes from fairness. Real peace comes from justice. Yes, some species are stronger than others. Yes, some are more advanced. But strength doesn't give you the right to crush the weak. Advancement doesn't give you the right to keep others down. Earth had the strength to conquer this entire galaxy. We had the weapons. We had the ships. We had decades to strike before anyone knew we existed. But we didn't, because strength without wisdom is just violence. Power without compassion is just tyranny. The vote was called. The new charter passed with 673 votes in favor. The old Galactic Council was dead. A new one was born. The changes happened quickly after that. Technology that had been hoarded by powerful species began spreading to everyone. Earth shared their shield technology, their medical advances, their agricultural techniques. In return, other species shared their knowledge of energy generation, their understanding of exotic matter, their art and culture and history. Captain Hyunwoo Kim returned to diplomatic duties, but everything was different now. His ship, the new Han Seong, was respected wherever it went. When he docked at stations, people greeted him with courtesy instead of contempt. When he spoke, others listened. Dr. Nari Choi was appointed as Earth's chief science liaison to the Council. She worked with researchers from dozens of species, sharing discoveries and solving problems together. The defensive technology she had once found in encrypted files was now saving lives across the galaxy. Commander Jingwoo Han was assigned to lead the Joint Defense Academy, a new institution created to train officers from all allied species. Students from hundreds of worlds came to learn from Earth's military expertise. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, the species the Council had called. Farmers was now teaching advanced warfare to the Galaxy. Director. Sora Yoon stepped down from her position leading Earth's shadow operations. There was no more need for shadows. She became Earth's Secretary of Defense, her work now public and acknowledged. In a speech to Earth's population, she explained the burden she had carried. For 37 years, I commanded forces that the galaxy didn't know existed. I maintained weapons we hoped we'd never use. I watched our people suffer insults and abuse, knowing we had the power to stop it. Every day, I asked myself if we were doing the right thing. If maybe we should have shown our strength from the beginning. She paused, emotion clear in her voice. But we wanted to earn our place through peace. We wanted to prove that humanity could be better than the empires and hegemonies that had come before us. And in the end, I think we succeeded. Yes, we had to fight. Yes, we had to show our strength. But we did it only after exhausting every other option. We can be proud of that. The galaxy began to change in visible ways. Mixed crews became common on trading vessels, humans working alongside Therians, Drexians serving with former enemies, species that had never interacted now living and working together. Joint colony ventures sprang up on frontier worlds, with multiple species building communities side by side. Haven's Rest, the colony that had sparked everything, became a symbol of the new era. They erected a monument in the planet's capital, a tall pillar of black stone with the names of every person who would have died if Earth had stayed silent. At the base was an inscription in a dozen languages. They stayed quiet until we needed them to roar. Let this stone remind us that patience is not weakness, that peace is a choice, and that the quiet ones often have the deepest strength. People from across the galaxy visited Haven's Rest to see the monument. They brought their children and told them the story of how humanity changed everything. On Earth, in a small cafe in Seoul, Ambassador Taeyang Park sat with Captain Hyunwoo Kim. Both men were older now, with more gray in their hair and more lines on their faces. But they seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. They watched the news on a screen above the counter. A human teacher was shown working with Drexian students at the Joint Defense Academy. A mixed crew human and alien ship was embarking on an exploration mission to uncharted space. A council vote had just passed new regulations to help the poorest species develop their economies. Do you think we made the right choice? Taeyang asked the same question he had asked himself 1,000 times. Hiding who we were for so long? Hyunwoo sipped his coffee and watched the street outside. A human child and a young Therian were playing together in the park across the way, their laughter carrying through the air. Both of them wore uniforms from the same school. Both of them smiled the same way. We gave them a chance to welcome us as we were, Hyunwoo said slowly. We came in peace, hoping they would respond with peace. When they didn't, when they threatened our people, we showed them who we really are. Yes, Ambassador. We made the right choice. Both times? Choosing peace first, and choosing strength when peace failed. Taeyang nodded and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds, beyond the atmosphere, Earth's defense fleets continued their patrols. The new Hanxiang and dozens of other ships keeping watch, making sure that what happened to Haven's Rest would never happen again. We'll stay quiet again, Taeyang said. Won't we? Yes, Hyunwoo agreed. As long as they give us reason to. Above them, completely invisible from the ground, the Idi Sol's Fury passed by on its regular patrol route. Admiral Dae-Yun Kwan sat in his command chair, reviewing reports. The galaxy was peaceful now. Trade was flourishing. Old enemies were becoming new friends. The Council was working the way it should have from the beginning, but the fleet remained ready. The defenses stayed active. Earth had learned its lesson. Peace is wonderful, but it must be protected. The quiet must remain ready to roar. In council chambers on the neutral world, a session was ending. Representatives from all species were filing out, talking and laughing together. Kelvara stood with Ambassador Taeyang, discussing plans for a joint research project. You know, Kelvara said, I think this is going to work. For the first time in my life, I believe we can build something truly great. It will work if we all commit to it, Taeyang replied. If we remember what happens when power goes unchecked, when the strong forget to be kind. Earth will remind us if we forget, Kelvara said. That's oddly comforting. Taiyang smiled. We'd rather not have to. We'd rather just be your friends and partners. But yes, we'll remind you if we must. They walked out together into the arena's grand plaza, where ships from 100 worlds were docked. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it by refusing to accept injustice, by protecting the weak, and by showing that true strength lies not in domination, but in knowing when to be gentle and when to be fierce. The story of how Earth stayed quiet until the Council crossed. The line became one of the most famous tales in galactic history. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. Historians studied it to understand the turning point when the galaxy became something better. And on Earth, in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain, in the secret bases that were secret no longer, personnel continued their work. Training, maintaining, improving. Always ready. Always watching. Always quiet until the galaxy gave them reason to be loud, because humanity had learned the most important lesson of all. Peace is not the absence of strength. Peace is strength under control. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is show the bullies exactly what happens when they push too far.